Hello and welcome to episode 505 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now I'm really personally excited about today's episode because growing up I was a huge fan of Coal Chamber. They were one of the bands that then led me to listen to bands like Limp Bizkit, Korn, Deftones. So it brings me great pleasure to announce that today's guest is the incredible Dez Fafara. On today's interview, we obviously talk heavily about Coal Chamber, about influences, and the amazing DevilDriver, an incredible band that has just released a brand new album, which I urge you all to go and listen to right away. It's called Strike and Kill. It's been out a few weeks, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And that interview with me and Dez is going to come up in just a couple of minutes. But let's just quickly touch base and talk about my last episode. It was one of my most downloaded episodes of the year. Josh from the awesome Coed in Cambria and Held. Everyone loved the stories, everyone loved the chemistry we had, and I will definitely do a follow-up at the end of the year when Coed are in the UK touring with the almighty Shinedown. But let's get to today's interview because my God, this is epic. Here's me and Dez Fafara. So I've been waiting to say this for a long time. Dez, welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Glad we could get on together.
Absolute pleasure. Do you know what? I was looking, I first saw Coal Chamber at Ozfest. I think I paid £17 for a UK ticket. And that was Tool, Sabbath, you guys, Korn. It was phenomenal, man. And I was remembered, you did a sign-in. And there was a massive queue, the sun was out, and I threw you my t-shirt. At this point, I'm only about 15 years old, probably younger. You signed it, passed it to the rest of the band, and then threw it me back. I owe you one, dude.
Sounds like me, man. Sounds like me.
So what I do on this podcast, my friend, is I always take it back to the very start, and I'm always intrigued. Everyone's journey starts a certain way, but what's important is the first album that we get given. And we may have gone out and bought it with our own pocket money. We may have been handed it down from a relative. But what was the first album that you remember getting in your hands for the first time, even if it's a guilty pleasure or it's a stone cold classic?
Right. So it would start two ways, which is my parents had a record collection, like every parent did.
Yeah.
My first record that I picked up from my stepfather's record collection was Steppenwolf, which the famous song Born to Be Wild was on.
Oh, wow.
And so that's about fourth grade. The first record I bought with my own money was Kiss Alive.
Do you know, I've been doing this podcast, like I said, nearly 10 years, and I've had Deftones, Silverchair, all these big bands, and the amount of times that people start their journey with Kiss, it's insane. A lot of people didn't even realize what the music was like and bought it because it looked like a comic or the graphic on the front was just appealing.
Yeah. I mean, I had their posters all over my walls. I was Gene Simmons, Peter Criss for Halloween. I don't know how many years.
I want to see photos of that.
My parents put up with me. But I think my journey started with my parents' record collection. And then as you kind of come into, I don't want to say adulthood because fourth, fifth, sixth grade, you're far from an adult, but you're running with your friends and you're listening to what they're listening to. And the obvious, the Doors, Zeppelin, all of that it was in my house. So I was not the kid that went to school, came home and got cereal and watched cartoons. I was a kid who came home, got into my parents' record collection and just absorbed music until it was time to eat dinner and do homework. Like I have always been that way. I mean, even this morning I woke up and was listening to vinyl. I probably listened to, I listened to Black Flag, Into the Germs, and then Black Sabbath. Like, I mean, I'm constantly listening to music, And my wife has to go to bed at some point. Because,
yeah, come on, you got to sleep.
Because I'm like, I'm down here. I'm in my studio right now, but I'm down here in our room that has a pool table and a bar and everything for people when they come over, and it's got a record player and I collect vinyl, and that's all I really do is listen to music,
There's been a real nice kind of, I'm 44, so when I grew up, I'd listen to an album all the way through because I'd have a cassette in a Walkman, or then I'd go and spend my pocket money for a whole week on an album, and if it was terrible, I'd fall in love with it because I had to justify the fact I could only have one album. So I'd listen to albums, be like, oh, I don't love it. There's only a couple of songs I heard, but I'm going to really give it a chance to grow on me. And we then got into a world of really kind of disposable music because it's all Spotify and everyone just selects it and deletes it or just moves on and hits skip. But now vinyl's back and there's this resurgence. You put it on, you let it play through, and you find the reason why people put certain songs in the album for track 7 or track 9, and the art of the true reason for an album is back again.
Right, and you're reading the lyrics.
Oh,
You're
yeah, it's
You're
wonderful.
looking at the artwork. You're looking at the inside cover, everything that you've done, and it is back. I mean, we've actually gone through a lot of vinyl on Strike and Kill on this new record, which is
Yeah,
amazing. Um, and artwork is a huge thing. You know, you're just looking at, like, for me, I would just stare at Kiss while I was listening to Kiss.
yep.
Right now, you're just with Spotify, you're washing dishes, you're doing whatever, and it kind of loses its thing. I just got into a previous conversation with a guy who said he couldn't justify buying. We were speaking about just music in general, and there was a record that he didn't buy at a vinyl store the other day because he couldn't justify the money monetarily. And I said, well, if that was the only way you can hear it was to buy it, or to wait up late at night on the radio to hear it, you would have bought it. But now, since it's so readily available, you didn't buy the record, right? And so that could be killing. I think that's not a good thing for art. But
No.
certainly vinyl is an awesome thing, especially all the colors and the
I was going
blood
to say
fill.
I'm a bit of a nerd, so if there's any like variant or a rare one where there's only 200 press with a limited edition, like the variants where the colors all fade, I'm like, I want that one as well. I want this one,
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, we tend to do that a lot in the band as well, as make
Yeah.
and make limited qualities or quantities as well. So yeah, yeah.
Live music changed for me. Obviously, I talked about Ozfest, but prior to that, about a year before, so I'm only about 13 at this point, I went to Wolverhampton. My parents dropped me off, and my first ever gig was Green Day on their Dookie tour.
Oh,
It
okay.
changed my life, dude. I came home and I was like, how did three people make that much noise? Because that's all they were at that point. They were a three piece. And I wondered, did you have a great first experience of live music?
Punk rock was
Oh,
my
lovely.
my intro. So I was raised on punk rock, goth, psychobilly, rockabilly. Those were my influences, right? Like I found metal through Motorhead, and Motorhead was on a cassette tape with GBH, the Partisans, a bunch of punk bands, right? And so my first encounter with a live show was well, actually, it might have been a psychobilly gig. It might have been. God, it might have been rockabilly too, as well. I think I remember seeing the Stray Cats when I was like 15 in LA. We all went out to see them, but punk rock certainly played a part in that, like Black Flag, The Germs, GBH, Wasted Youth, Circle One,
Oh,
like
man.
that. That was my youth, is sneaking out of my windows, putting on my Doc Martens and going out to shows and hoping I could get home before my mom knew I was gone, and shows back then too were like, and I just had this conversation, so this is apropos, but you had a pit in your stomach because you didn't know what would happen that night. You didn't know if the cops were going to come in, if there's going to be a fight, things were going to get visceral, violent at any given moment. So I think punk rock, like, those were my essential times to go see live gigs, that, and a lot of psychobilly, a lot of rockabilly. I still enjoy, the Cramps on a daily
Oh,
basis.
man.
Yeah,
Amazing,
yeah,
amazing foundations. Weirdly,
yeah,
as well, only a year later, I think I was 15. Cold Chamber, one of my first gigs, you also played at the Civic Hall. It was in 1997. You came
yeah.
on, and the moment you hit Loco, honestly, the place I've never seen, because obviously Green Day's punking, it's fun, and people are jumping around. But the pit, I was like, fuck, I'm not ready for this, man. I need to stand back. I'm only a kid. I'm 15. I'm scared to even get a punch in the head. It was unbelievable, dude. You were the reason that led me to Deftones and all the bands I listen to now today, man.
Great, man. Like I love the Deftones. We've got obviously a early history. I was there the night they got signed. Like Madonna rolled up in a limo,
It's
signed them.
crazy.
And it was, we were all applauding, like, yes, let's get bands out of LA, because LA was a dead zone at the time. But I remember that Cold Chamber gig very well, very, very well. And since then, the UK for me has always been a stronghold. Like,
Yeah.
it's always been a special place. I mean, even in DevilDriver, I wrote a song called Another Night in London, like specifically for how I feel when I go out after shows or how I feel when I touch ground on the UK. Certain places are very special for me. New York, LA, London, especially Australia as well. Like that, those are just strongholds to me, man. So it's cool that you would come and you would be at that gig and that was
Terrified, man. Terrified.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that certainly kicked off our career in the
Yeah,
UK. Um, and from then on, it was go in that environment, And then back in the day, especially in Los Angeles, right, we had to shut down a lot of our shows. Like we had to, because they were violent.
yeah.
They were pretty violent, and I'm glad that that night it didn't get that way. But yeah, the pit was insane in London that night. So.
Amazing, man. And I don't know the full story about your whole life. Obviously, I've met you today for the first time, and I know the ins and outs. I know the bands you've in. But when it all started, what was the point for you that made you want to then be in a band? So I talked about the Green Day gig. I came home. I told my parents I wanted to be in a band. They were like, "That's ridiculous. It's never going to happen." They weren't the most supportive. I wanted to bleach my hair and dye it green. What was the thing that triggered it for you? What was the moment that you thought, "I'm going to be in a fucking band"?
Right. So my mom was the same way, man. I would come home and she'd throw away my spiked belt, she'd throw away my, big skull and crossbone belt buckles. She'd throw them away, or my Doc Martens, or my favorite fucking cowboy boots that I used to wear with chains around them when I was a young psychobilly kid, 14, 15. She did the same shit, like, didn't support it. I think for me, because I had kind of a different rough childhood, laying in bed at night listening to the radio was everything for me. So even before I got into my parents' record collection, I would lay in bed and just listen to the radio. It didn't matter if it's pop music, whatever. And just that's what sparked me. So it wasn't like I saw this one band, I came home, I want to be in a band. But I would say when I really started to get into rockabilly and psychobilly when I was like 13, 14 years old, um, that made me go, okay, I want to be in a band. And I was in a band called the Screamin' Wolves. I was a stand-up drummer, much like Slim Jim Phantom, which is in the Stray Cats, which is crazy because I just found out last night. My wife says he follows me on
No
Instagram.
way.
So I've refollowed him, and my wife is friends with his wife. And so hopefully I get to meet him because he's a childhood hero of mine. But I went from there to punk rock, and I've always wanted to be a musician. I always wanted to be in music, play music. Um, in my school, we had music class, and it wasn't necessarily like we're going to learn flute today, right? It was like we're going to go over Bach, we're going to go over Beethoven, we're going to go over the great composers, and then would like my teacher was great because he'd be like, now we're going to talk about Zeppelin,
Oh man.
right? Now we're going to talk about the Doors, and like I fucking loved that class. Like
Yeah.
I remember it was after math, and I hated math class. Right? It's like to this day I'm great at math, but I hated the class, and I was like, okay, when is this up? Because my next class is music, and I would come home and you'd have homework for it, and I'd come home and my mom would be like, "What's your homework?" My homework tonight is to like go over this Zeppelin artwork, Houses of the Holy or whatever.
That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and so for me, that's what did it. It's just music in general has always been something that took me away from a bad space where I was when I was a child and got me into a positive headspace, and still is, to be honest with you.
Was there a point, Des, when you turned round and it was enough to justify to the people around you that doubted you, like your parents? You turn around to your mom and say, "I'm going to be in a band." They're like, "No, you're fucking not. You're going to get a proper job." Was there something that you had done, maybe with Coal Chamber, that was enough to then think, "I've proved them. It's been enough. I've done what I needed to do to prove to them that it was worth the risk"?
Yeah, I think coming home from LA on a train, still kind of half broke, and handing my mom a gold record for Coal Chamber's first record
Beautiful,
was
man.
was like, you know, that was it. Like she goes, "Oh, I understand this, right?"
Yeah.
But she was much the same. Like, "Why are you doing this? Get a normal job. Like, this is going to be a bad environment for you." And I'm like, "Well, that's just me. I'm not taking the normal route." I never did when I was a kid. I always liked outsider art, outsider music, and outsider stuff. And I mean, I still this is me still to this day, you know? So,
I don't. I've only just met you today, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. But I don't think there was ever a plan B, was there? There was never going to be another option. It was, I'm going to do this.
right. So, brother, I was very smart. And what happened is, my mom, after not being with my father, like, obviously had different relationships and stepfathers come into my life. And that's a whole story that's going to be in my book next year. But she was dating a hairdresser at the time when I was like in elementary school. And I just remember this guy was like a rock star, like driving a convertible, money, women all over him, like, all over him. And so in school, I went to school for hairdressing when I was 16.
I never knew this, man.
And I got my license, and everybody kind of went to Supercuts or whatever. And I went straight to Beverly Hills when I was young and ended up working for two or three of the biggest hairdressers out there. Um, and eventually ended up working for a guy named Louis Licari and working, with huge hairdressers and massive clientele. So what was coming in was like Lisa Marie Presley, Kevin Spacey,
Jesus, man.
Nancy Reagan with, guys with earpieces in their ears, Secret Service, like, and really, so I did have a plan B going
Yeah.
while I was trying with Coal Chamber. And that's why when Coal Chamber got our first record deal, I didn't take the deal for a year because I'm like, I'm working in Beverly Hills. This is incredible. I've achieved rock stardom over here. Why do I want to leave and go get in a van and sleep on the floor, which I know is going to happen, right? When I form this band. And then about a year later, I took the record deal. The rest is history. Otherwise, we would have been signed before Korn was even signed. So that's the story behind that. But I was a very kind of,
Fair play to you.
I'm still very intuitive and
Yeah.
and calculating and smart when it comes to that. So I do always say have a plan B. Now, once I was in music, there was no plan B. It was balls out,
Fully
like
invested.
fully invested. I'm never going back. And here we are today. Here we are today,
Have I always ask this because I'm always fascinated. It's always difficult to be in the moment in life, isn't it? It's very difficult, and to reflect in the moment is always something you need with hindsight. So you look back. Were you ever able to look at Cold Chamber and realize just how big you'd become? Did you see the crowds growing? Did you see the festival lineup each year getting bigger and you going up onto the main stage and then going up further up the main stage and then playing with the other bands that you were playing with and then going above them and people wearing your t-shirts and more people singing back? Or were you too caught up and too kind of involved in it to even be able to take a step back? Was it too much of a whirlwind?
At that point, it was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Now I look back at the moving up. Now I look back at the mistakes of the I'll open for this band when I shouldn't have, which caused a slide or what have you. But I will take you back to what you said. That Coal Chamber gig that you went to was when I first came backstage in the UK and realized like, oh shit, this thing is taking off. Right.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I think we were walking around Camden Lock, like, I was looking for fishnet shirts and shit, shopping. And I was getting like mobbed by people. And I started to realize like, okay, what we're doing here makes sense. Now, obviously within LA, we're selling out places
Yeah.
and all, but it's not until you move to another space in time, like the UK or out of your hometown to where you realize like, oh shit, this is getting big. I tend not to look back, but obviously in my age, I've had time to kind of look back a bit. And I do remember like clicking up the ladder and maybe clicking down, opening for a band I shouldn't have, or what have you. But as with all things in life, it just is what it is.
Of course, man. Of course. Yeah, you got to live in the present. I've only started recently in my 40s to start living more in the present.
I think you have to do that. I wake up every day and I go, oh, I got breath in my lungs. That's cool.
That's a good start. Yeah.
I thank the universe for that. And I tend to try to live in the moment. And especially with this record now, with
Yeah.
DevilDriver, like after a 30-year career, after 4 records with Cold Chamber plus best ofs, 11 records now with DevilDriver, we
Wow.
woke up today going, with the news of like, hey, you're number one in metal, you're number 34 on the Billboard charts, you're number two on the NACC. And I bowed my head, man, actually, in front of my wife. I just bowed my head and she's like, you okay? And I go, I'm being grateful, man. Like, I'm being humble and grateful right now to the universe because if you charge at it, like, yeah, I fucking knew we could, and fuck yes,
Yeah.
the universe will smack you down so hard, bro. You
It will
know,
remind you at the
it's
easiest
very important to
opportunity.
live in the fucking moment, man. If I could say something to my younger self or to somebody that's watching this that's, 15, like try to live in the moment a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't get carried away with so much of the future because your future is now, right here now.
So true, man. And does it feel like with DevilDriver, then I can't believe it's 11 albums. That's mind blowing. Does it feel like you've kind of won the lottery twice because everyone chases to be in a band, have success, sell loads of records, be on the front of magazines, and you've done it with two separate bands? Does it feel like you rolled those dice and you got those double sixes twice? Like you've worked for it, you've put in all the fucking groundwork, but you've done it in two separate bands, man. That's not luck.
No, it's a lot of hard work. Um, I started Devil Driver out of necessity because Cold Chamber was breaking up because we were getting torn apart by their substance abuse was different than mine.
Yeah.
So I like alcohol and cannabis. I like to go down and they like to go up. And that's separation of church and state. And Devil Driver was started out of necessity. I've always come from a blue collar working class aspect my whole life. I had a wife and kids at home, right? So
Yeah.
I wasn't going to lose. And I had a huge savings account that I didn't want to get into and I probably could have quit at that point, maybe. Uh, but I had so much music in me and so much love of music that Devil Driver was started out of necessity. Do I feel grateful like I won the lottery? I mean, I feel humbled and blessed by it for sure. But there was a
Yeah.
lot of work ethic in that, a lot of on the road, a lot of, oh,
Sacrifices, man.
I'm only home 60 days out of the year. I
Yeah.
just one of my kids graduating from high school, which I still kick myself in the fucking head for. A lot of sacrifice, but what you're trying to attain is, and you don't even know what at the point. You're just going, and I feel like anybody worth their weight is in that. They just go. They don't. They don't have any. What's the word? They don't have any pathway. They just carve out the path and go. That's what I've done with both of my bands. Look, what I'm most proud of is that both of the bands that I'm in currently, even like they just don't sound like anybody else.
No.
They're different, and that for me that's chasing the dream. Is trying to leave. Somebody said, Des. First of all, I used the word legend. And I was like, can you please stop that? Can we do that when I'm 80? It feels better. But I said, what I'm chasing now is to leave a scar. So like when I got into those early records when I was a kid, they left a scar on me. So can I leave a scar on someone's life through music? Like, okay, cool, I've done my job, right? So that's the only way I can approach the rolling the double sixes, which I love the analogy, right?
Yeah,
Um,
man.
and I feel blessed because right now, I mean, there's a lot of people that have long careers, but they're well and over, and they're playing in front of 100 people, and people aren't listening to their music, and I feel like the only way you get to this point is through other people, like people listening to my music, bought the music, buy a shirt, come to a show. It's the only reason I'm here, man. And I want to continue to do my best. I've said it and I'll say it again. I'm not going to overstay my welcome. When I feel like I can't kick the shit out of my 20-year-old self, which I know I can right now, absolutely, I'll leave. I'll walk away. But I feel incredibly blessed that there's still people that listen to my music and buy my music and come to shows. Yeah. So I want to say thank you to everybody over the years that has done that.
So is there a finishing line? Because a lot of bands don't know there's a finishing line. They carry on. I think you might be the first person in 500 that has said they're aware of a day that will come that they can no longer give it their true 100% ass kicking ability.
Yeah, I have, I mean, actually, before I put the Freemason working tools on my knuckles. I had 110% tattooed on there, but the percent on my knuckles got me in a little bit of trouble because I ride Harleys. So I covered that, but that is me in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Like last night, and I was on my longboard bombing hills, like skateboarding is everything to me, and surfing. And if I can't do it at 110%, I don't want to do it. I don't want someone to say, "Well, I saw Dez in his 30s and he was awesome, but I just saw a show last night and he's phoning it in." Like
Yeah.
you'll never fucking get the chance to say that about me. It's not
No.
ever going to happen. It's never going to
Like,
happen.
do you remember when he was good? You never want that.
Never, and so I'll know when that happens, when I'm limping out on stage or I just can't bring the fire, you
After
know.
3 songs, you're getting oxygen and there's someone else coming to hold the mic for you.
Yeah, no, and I
Yeah.
don't do that unless I'm up in Colorado way high. Then I'm like, give me some oxygen. Then every artist is hitting oxygen. But I
Yeah.
think for myself, like, and I use the analogy, kick the shit out of my younger self. Like
That's a good way to put it, man.
that's it. When I can't do that, I'm gonna walk. And right now, is fortunately, that's not the time right now. Um, I mean, this morning before this, I ran 5 miles on the treadmill, and my wife's like, "Hey, you got to start interviews. Like, you got interviews from 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock today." And I was like, "What time is it?" She's like, 8. I'm like, "Fuck."
Fuck. Yeah.
But I mean, I have to get my workout in. I've got to at night as the sun goes down. I got to go outside and skate for a while. Like that's just me. Like I've got to push myself, man. And I think that's how you should go into age, right? Like my grandfather was 53 when he retired and died a month later, if that says anything.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I'm only going to walk when it's necessary. Or maybe people will stop buying my shit and not be interested, and they'll force me out, because I'm not living up to my potential for them. And I don't want that to ever happen either, ever. It's one of the reasons DevilDriver waited 4 years to put out a record. Is I waited 3 years for demos from a previous member. I got the demos and I was like, "What is this? Like, this is fuck no. This is not violent. This is not visceral. This is not. This is not." And so this is why there's a 4 year wait, because I refuse to put out anything that I won't stand behind 100%.
Your name's on it, man, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think people would want me to do that either, man. Like, fuck. I mean, just like any artist, you got your lovers and your haters, but what I'd like to do is leave a scar and then say that I did it to the best of my ability all the way to the end, mate. All the way to the end.
To not avoid the elephant in the room, I got told I was going to be interviewing you yesterday, and I couldn't believe it when I went online afterwards because I was like, "What? What? Why is it? What? Dez's name's fucking everywhere. What the fuck's going on?" And I obviously watched part of a podcast that I didn't even know, and the hour 20-minute mark came, and you announced some very, very serious news that you've kept under wraps. And I don't want to spend the rest of the whole podcast talking about this because it's your own issue that should be for you. But you've decided to let the world know. And I know it must be impossible to sum up, how has the last 24 hours been? Because I can't imagine your phone stopped beeping.
I had to put it on silent. And what's odd about that is 90% of the people who called through had not talked to me in a long time. And I was like, "Where have you been?
Yeah.
Now you're calling?" So for those who don't know, last 5 or 6 years in my life, my family's life has been very tumultuous, right? So my wife went through cancer twice, having me to take down tours and everything because she's my best friend. We've been together almost 29 years. She's on the cover of my second record, Chamber Music. We have kids together. I'm a Italian fucking family man to the core. Took down my life. Then we all went through COVID. We all know what happened with COVID. And then after COVID, then COVID hit me, almost killed me, left me with heart problems and everything else. And people say it's because you got the jab. If you didn't get the jab, like I'm not even going to go into that. Let's just say
No.
like I'm not for authority and don't listen to what authority tells me to do. I'll just stay there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fair, man.
And what had happened was, all right, we're good. We're better. Everything feels good. Let's make a record. Let's get ready to go. Let's tour. And I was running on a Saturday afternoon. I ran like 5, 6 miles that morning. Went downstairs to give the keys to my car to this kid that washes my car once a month. I came upstairs, I passed out. My wife slapped me, woke me up. I had vertigo. After about 30 minutes, and I'm not a guy who calls ambulances, I was like, call
No.
911, ended up in an ambulance emergency room. Anyways, MRI machines, lived in them for a minute. They found a tumor
Fucking hell,
on
man.
my upper saliva gland up in my head. Um, then came the process of, okay, fuck, I'm supposed to leave on tour. Obviously, that's coming down. Now we got to figure out if it's cancerous. And that was Christmas Eve 2 years ago.
Jesus, man.
Christmas Eve 2 years ago, cover me driving with my wife. And sorry, here I driving my wife, and they take a big needle, they put it in me, and this woman, a little Chinese woman, is like, "Hey, I'll know in 15 minutes." I'm like, "Wait, what? Like, you'll
Fucking
know?"
hell.
And she goes, "I'll be back." And I said this in the podcast. I told my wife, "Don't talk right now. Like, do me a favor.
Yeah.
We pray to the universe right now." Like, I'm not much for organized religion, but I do believe in prayer, and scripting the matrix with the universe is a great thing. You do
Yeah.
that through thought, meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. And then she came back in and said it wasn't cancer. Man, I lifted this woman. I scared the shit out of her. She's probably 5 foot. And my wife's even like, I'm apologizing for him. He's just so excited, and it wasn't cancer. So what happened is the vertigo is what your body does to say, hey, you better check this out. You better go check this out. And non-cancerous, excellent. Thank you to the universe. It has to get bigger to operate on because it's dangerous. They took video of me smiling, laughing, blinking to make sure that that's not changing over
Yeah.
time. They said, look, sometimes this remains the same. Sometimes it gets bigger. It has to get bigger in order to operate and be safe. And I said, this is very much an insight to me. I said, hey, this thing is going to get smaller. I fast, sometimes days at a time. I eat well. I'm a big proponent of positive thought. And I said, look, this is going to be one for your books. I'm going to make this thing go away. And sure enough, it's been going on for 2 years. Sure enough, my last MRI, it had shrunk a bit, which they were like,
You're a fucking superhero, man.
well, you script your own universe. You can script your own matrix. If you want your life to be good, tell the universe what you want. It listens. And I'm telling it, don't bring this any more on me. I've got a career, I've got a family, I've got everything that's good in my life. I've done a lot of positive work in my life, a lot of charity work in my life. Like, this is not what's going to happen. Of course, we're all going to go sometime. Let's face it.
The
And
wires get cut, don't they, eventually, whatever happens?
whatever happens, happens. So, anyways, for those who don't know and don't know me, that's what went on. And I've had a very tumultuous 5 or 6 years. And so to come out of that with kind of, #1 record, and we just got back from Australia, almost sold out shows. Like, it's been a win for me, like no other. Um, I mean, I say it all the time at nauseum. It's like, be humble, be grateful, or the universe will strip that shit away from you so quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you to the universe that it could have been the other direction. And yes, it's cancerous. We got to get in there right away, even though it's not safe. And I certainly didn't want that. So it's been a very rough 5 or 6 years for me. And my childhood was a little rough as well. So I fought my way out of that, and now I'm fighting my way through this. And just in life, be a fucking fighter. Have positive attitude, hang out with good people, have good friends around you, make good decisions, try to lift other people up as much as you can, and fight in your own life, especially when you have something health-wise go on. Fucking fight, man. Just fight.
Beautiful, man. And I've obviously, touch wood, I'm not in the same position, and I hope I don't have that, obstacle in my life. But as cheesy as it sounds, does it change your mindset that every gig could be your last, every kiss with your wife could be the last, every day you get up could be the last? Do you appreciate everything on that extra level?
Yeah, which was great. I've always been that guy anyways.
Beautiful, man.
My wife and I, we fall asleep holding hands
I
every
love
night,
this.
unless I'm on a tour bus, and nothing comes before her or after her. I don't have guys' night.
No.
If I do, I bring my wife, and they're like, "Oh, you brought your wife," and I'm like, "Yeah, peace out, we're out of here." You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I've always been that guy, and if you come from humble beginnings, I never had a spoon in my mouth, kind of thing, fed to me. That you do appreciate every moment.
Yeah.
I approach this new record as if it was my first, because that's the most urgent moment in your life as an artist is your first record. And I approach it as if it was my last, because
It,
that's the
it
most.
has the confidence, dude. I listened to it again before this interview today, all the way through. And I thought this sounds like a band that are releasing their debut again. The blood, the thirst, the energy, the desire, the passion, and the fucking sweat that goes into it. It was not like your debut, as in, it sounded like we're here to fucking go again, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm thankful, man. Every day I wake up, bro. Like, and I have great friends around me and a very small circle now, because after 5 or 6 years, and everybody will relate to this, people come and go. People want something from you.
Yeah.
Everybody wants something from a musician, first of all. And what I realized is, you said yesterday, I bet your phone was ringing. Absolutely, it was. And I'm not going to get back to probably 85% of those people, right? Because even when there was a picture of me in the back of an ambulance that went worldwide, I didn't get those kinds of phone calls, right? And so always stay true to the people that are there in the hard times for you. Like, it's easy to be there when you're next to my swimming pool and I'm fucking
Yeah.
barbecue and I'm barbecuing your vegan meal or your whatever and we're hanging out. But when I'm in the hard times, when I've got rough stuff going on, like, where are you? Where were you? Right? So my circle went like this, and it's for a good thing. It's for a good thing.
Do you know what I learned? And maybe I sound like a granddad to end the interview, but I used to want to be the guy that had 100 friends and 100 buddies and 100 people associate with me all around me, Mr. Popular. When I hit 40, I looked at my life and now I'm happy to probably have 10 friends, not buddies, not mates, friends, that if I rung them up tonight, they would pick up the phone, not just because they think they can get something from it, because they genuinely care and I'll answer the phone to them. The 90% of people that I went, nah, don't worry now, I'm just not going to bother ringing you and being the person to always make that first contact. They've
Yeah.
sailed away. And do you know what? I'd rather have 10 true fucking incredible friends that are family, that I would die for, that I love every day and have real deep conversations with, than
Yeah.
just being the popular guy at the party that everyone wants to buy a beer for, you know?
I don't like the party anyways. I've never been that guy. I walk
No.
into I'm an empath and I'm just like, I'm out of here, right? And so I me and my friends, there's a running joke in my life that you got six pallbearers, right? That I only have five real close friends. So I don't have enough people to carry my casket. But one of my friends is about 6'9", and he actually said to me, "Don't worry, I'll take the whole front end." And we always say to each other, like, if I can call you at 3 in the morning and tell you to be at my house with a shovel, a shotgun, and $500,
I'll
right?
be
And
there.
you don't fucking question me. You're knocking on my door a half hour later. That's the kind of guy I want around me. Um, and I happen to run with some really good people. I mean, besides the fact I'm a Mason, and in Freemasonry, like, we have an oath to each other where we watch each other's backs as much as we do charity works and
Yeah.
help the community. We also watch each other's backs and watch each other's families. And so you have to be kind of that way, man. You have to have a certain amount of love for the people who love you, man. And I'm very fortunate. I do have some really very close friends.
My
Very
last
close.
question, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I do this on every episode of Mark and Me. As this interview is all edited and then ready for the world to listen to, I'll include little clips of DevilDriver, they'll be all over. But as the final piece of music plays at the end of the episode, every single episode is different because on the spot, and I'm sorry to do this to you, I'll ask you for a piece of music that means a lot to you personally in the history of music. What song comes to your heart and soul, Des, right now in this moment? I'm sorry, it's probably 1,000 songs, 200 songs.
Ava Maria by Pavarotti.
Oh man, that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Why did that come to your head, do you think, before any other?
I love all music, but I love opera.
Yeah,
And I think Pavarotti is, of course, the shining one. Like,
yeah.
and that piece of music I've heard done by hundreds of different artists, but he kills that. And if you want something absolutely spectacular, I love James Brown. He's one of my favorite artists as well. Pavarotti and James Brown do a live version of It's a Man's World in Italy in front of
Fucking hell.
couple 100,000 people. And if I was you, pull up that YouTube. It is one of the most incredible performances you'll ever see. But Ave Maria is the first song or the last song or the only song maybe that would be played as they lay me low, 6 feet down. It's in my will. My it starts off my Sundays if I'm making sauce for the family. I'm Italian, so I
Amazing.
wake up to make gravy, make sauce for the family, and I'm constantly playing opera.
Dude, I am so glad that our paths have crossed, and I can't thank you enough, truly, from the bottom of my heart, for spending your time with me tonight on the Mark and Me podcast. Truly, it means the fucking world.
I'm so glad I could sign that shirt for you and throw it back to you, and no one else grabbed it.
I am so glad, man. 30 years has gone on since then, and now our paths cross again. But I know our paths will cross. I will be at a gig, there'll be a festival. I will see you in person, and I will shake your hand and thank you for today, dude.
I would love that, man. Follow me on Instagram, DM me. Let's
You
have
know I will.
conversation. I love to hang out with the people who support my art, and congratulations on everything that you've done
Thank you,
for
my friend.
with your thing, and definitely I would love to meet you in person. And I'm definitely coming to the UK next year. We've just this morning booked a bunch of festivals, so yeah, it'd be great
Awesome.
to meet you. And thank you so much for everything.
And
And
good luck for the rest of the press. Good luck with everything. And truly, dude, the album is a masterpiece. So give your fucking self a big pat on the back and keep doing what you do. Never change.
I will. I will. Thank you so much for your kind words. It means a great deal. Yeah, take care. Bye bye, brother.
So there's my interview with me and Dez Fafara. My God, I love this guy. We hit it off straight away. I felt like he was an old friend. And we have history, man. One of my first gigs was seeing Cold Chamber. I saw him at Ozfest. They blew my mind. And I'm really grateful for Dez for coming on the episode and also talking about very personal issues which have just come to light. So it wasn't easy to approach that topic, but I couldn't ignore it when it's been all over the news headlines this last week. I really hope all of you guys at home have enjoyed the episode, and if you have, please take the time to share it. You know the score by now. There's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or just tell your friends. Word of mouth is the way that Mark and Me continues to grow, and I appreciate every single share I see of these episodes on any of your social media channels. I also have the sponsors of the podcast that I'd like to give a shout out to, starting with Richer Sounds. If you want to get yourself anything to do with audio and visual, speakers, headphones, cables, go on richersounds.com or visit any of their high street stores. And lastly, Vice Press. These are the best company in the world for posters and collectible items. It's all licensed and official. And if you use the discount code over at vicepress.com, which is MarkandMe26, the number 26, you will get yourself 10% off your first purchase. And trust me, they have some amazing stuff you will not resist on adding to that basket. Right, guys, I'm going to go, but before I do, thanks again to Dez for coming on the episode. Thanks to you guys for taking the time at home to listen. And I'll be back with another episode of Mark and Me in a couple of days' time.